This video is for gamers, students, academics, or really anyone looking for that extra little boost, that leg up in their productivity, their time management skills. Time blocking is, in my opinion, one of the biggest factors that help me to balance everyday life with a PhD and gaming as well. This is Old School RuneScape. This is Baldur's Gate 3. Here we have World of Warcraft and Stardew Valley. And this is the story of what all these games have in common, and what we can learn from them to improve our time management skills. My position in this video is that learning a little bit more about dopaminergic systems in gaming can help us improve our time management skills. I wanted to open the video with a bit of a personal story, and this is in combination with my PhD. What I really enjoy doing in my spare time, as you may have guessed, is playing video games. Now, this isn't always the easiest thing to fit into a busy PhD schedule. However, there is one trick that's really helped me in managing my time more effectively. The answer, in this case, is time blocking. But before we get into that, let's explore how gaming and productivity can be connected. So, you might be wondering, what's the connection here? Well, it's simple. All of these games employ systems that are centered around a reward pathway. Getting an item, finishing a quest, achievement hunting, even exploring the world reinforce these dopaminergic pathways. This is intentional on the part of game designers, who are leveraging natural systems in brain to create dopamine-driving systems in-game. To clarify, dopamine is essentially, at its core, a chemical of reward and motivation. The main games that we've referenced in this video all include some element of goal setting and acquisition. So, for example, if you want to improve your farm in Stardew Valley, or if you want to reach max level in World of Warcraft, or if you want to get a 99 in an Old School RuneScape skill, these are all larger goals that are fed by smaller, more incremental steps. And each of these lead into a recurring loop where a little bit of dopamine is sort of sprinkled in here and there throughout your time playing the game. All of these systems are designed to get you to start playing and to get you to keep playing. At this point, you might be wondering, what does goal setting in RuneScape or any of these other games have to do with our real lives? And the connection is fairly clear here. What we're going to do is we're going to use the same systems and techniques that game designers use to encourage us to make progress in the game, and we're going to take those systems and input them into our day-to-day lives. Now, in this specific case, what that looks like is time blocking. So time blocking is essentially where you segment portions of your day into very clear, specific things that you're going to be doing. So, for example, between the hours of 9 and 10 in the morning, I could be working on research. Between 10 and 11, perhaps I'm taking that research and extracting quotations from it. From 11 till maybe 11:30, I go for a walk. So you have a very clear time block, essentially, and this is where the name comes from, where you're only doing that particular task during that particular time. So the key here is to remove all other distractions. So this means no checking your phone, no social media, no checking emails, trying to stay as focused on that one particular thing as you possibly can. Now, what you can do is within time blocking, and this kind of creates a sort of compounding effect, you can use the Pomodoro technique where you're setting up, for example, 25 minutes of work with a 5-minute break. Now, the key here is that 5-minute break shouldn't be spent checking social media, going through emails. engaging in these otherwise distractions that don't really end up resetting and refreshing your brain. What I like to do is maybe get a glass of water, get up and stretch, move around a little bit. If you can, get outside, go for a walk. Getting some fresh air, some sunlight is always great. Making sure we're hydrating. You know, the 5-minute window is a great time to play with the cats if you've got any pets or family members that you can chat to. This is a wonderful opportunity to make sure you're getting in that kind of close connection with them. And then when that time is up, you come back, you complete another round of work, and then you have your rest. And so using the 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, alternating time scale of the Pomodoro technique really works nicely with time blocking. And here we're sort of, it's almost like we're habit stacking on sort of a macro scale. What I like to do in my case, and what I found works best for me, is to determine when is it that your brain is sort of at its peak cognitive capacity. And this can vary a bunch from person to person, whether you're a night owl or you're a morning person, if you prefer to do a bunch of deep work in the morning, or if you get your best ideas at 10 at night and you're, for example, writing a novel, that can be maybe, you know, an hour or 2 hours at the end of your day that you can put towards that. And you're not trying to fit that time where you're most productive into another time where you're maybe half asleep, you haven't had your coffee, you haven't, you know, exercised, that sort of thing. So what you're really trying to do is incorporate the natural rhythms of your particular energy cycle into your schedule. And so your natural rhythms, your energy patterns supersedes your schedule. Everything that the schedule does is in service to maximizing your output and what you can get out of your own energy levels. And this can be completely flexible throughout the day. It can change season to season, for example, as well. If you find that the lack of sunlight in the winter, if you live up here in the Northern Hemisphere, it can be you know, a little tricky to kind of get going in the morning. You can shift everything around. All of this is flexible and you're able to change this as you see fit. Let's take a look at what this looks like in practice and how you can set up time blocking for yourself. All right, so I just want to walk you through how this would look on something like Google Calendar, and you can use any digital calendar app for this. I'll just use Google for the sake of this example. So at 9 in the morning, brekkie, coffee, perfect. And at 10, so we'll put YouTube Learning in here. We'll make this till 10. What we're doing here is kind of compiling our ideal day. So for you, this might look like, you know, you're starting at 2 p.m. because you've woken up at noon and or, you know, maybe you're starting at 5 and you're going to the gym before work. There's a whole bunch of flexibility that's built into this. The whole idea is that you're setting up these time blocks, this time blocking schedule to work best with you and your natural energy levels, what fits into existing things in your schedule, whether that's your 9 to 5, you know, time with the kids, any other obligations which you might have. So let's carry on. So between 10 and 12, let's say, let's make this a 2-hour deep work. We'll hit save. From 12 to 1, let's do lunch plus X walk. Yeah, lunch plus walk. There we go. And let's make from 1 to 3 p.m. Let's make this second deep work. Now, this second deep work session, depending on, you know, how you're feeling that day, this can be something that's a little bit less cognitively intensive, you know, whether that's responding to emails, filling out forms, inputting data, doing a little bit of research, stuff that requires a bit less brain power. You know, this is assuming that you're maybe not as sharp in the afternoon. This could be completely different if, you know, the afternoon is where you have a huge energy spike and you're feeling, you know, most creative and productive. So this is just an example, just a way of, you know, showing you how to set this up. So let's say, you know, from 3 to 4, we've got admin /wrap up. And that'll take us to pretty much the end of our day. Let's make this, let's drag this to 3 to 5. Okay, and then 5, let's put family slash, connection time. There we go, for an hour. Let's do dinner for an hour. Let's, that'll include, prep time and eating. And then we can wind down, maybe watch some Netflix, watch some more YouTube, that sort of thing. That'll take us, you've got, a good chunk of time there before, let's say, if your bedtime's 10, 11, midnight, whatever it is, you've got a good chunk of time here potentially that can be used as a second, maybe a creative block. So if you're, let's take our wind down. I'll shrink it here, and let's move it to 9. So between, for example, creative work, and we'll drag this out. Oh, sorry. We'll drag this out. So, maybe after you finish dinner, you're feeling, like you have the energy to put in another block of work on something that you're passionate about. Maybe that's YouTube or reading or writing a novel, anything that's creative. This could be another session of deep work if you wanted to, but we're not trying to push any sort of crazy productivity here. This is all just what works best for you and what fits into your schedule and provides you the most value, and at the end of the day, what brings you the most joy, right? That's all that this is about. So we've got our block there of creative time, and then our wind down routine. That can be, whatever you want. Watching Netflix, watch a movie, play with the cats, read a book, and then you're ready to copy. And then you're ready to copy this over into the next day. And that's just how you set it up. You can set alerts and reminders that get set directly to your phone throughout the day to say, like, okay, this is when I'm supposed to be doing this. Oh, it's time to switch from, my deep work session and time to go grab lunch, that sort of thing. So this is just one example of how you can set up time blocking digitally. One of the things that I love so much about time blocking is that it allows me to focus on things that I enjoy, multiple passions such as YouTube, content creation, gaming, reading, working on the PhD, research, cooking. Really anything that you can think of can be broken up into different segments throughout your day where you can just focus on that one thing at a time. This is going to dramatically increase your productivity, and I've found that it actually improves the amount of joy that I get from these activities because I don't feel guilty about not executing or not completing tasks in other areas. I can just focus on doing one thing at a time and getting the most out of it, whether that's gaming, working, or spending time with friends and family. For time blocking, I find that it can be helpful to think of these smaller segments as goals, and time blocking is the system, the overarching system in which we are completing and executing these goals. So what I've developed here is a free Notion template that's going to walk you through everything that you need, whether that's digital or analog, to set up time blocking and implement that into your day-to-day life. It'll walk you through the scheduling, maybe some key elements to include, such as snack breaks, time with your pets, going for a walk, physical exercise. It's also going to include a walkthrough of how to set up your Google Calendar and create what we could call an ideal day. This Notion template will walk you through everything you need to get started, whether you're going digital or analog. Thanks so much for tuning in to learn about time blocking. If you found these tips helpful, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more gaming, reading, and productivity content. I'd also love to hear your favorite productivity hacks. Drop them in the comments below to share with the community. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.